I'm struck by the network itself as being almost supernatural. It is omniscient. Basically, it knows everything that can be known. I mean, not technically, but like it absorbs all of the out there information. It's everywhere. And it's at this point the most powerful thing on earth. So it's practically omnipotent. Um, what's your reaction
Yeah.
to that?
Well, it gets scary. Some people think it's like, okay, the big threat from the network is that they'll figure out how to hack human brains. And like, I'm not really so much even worried about that. Worried about kind of what I call the long night, this kind of lockdown, that it restricts everyone to this really narrow thing. I mean, there are things in the medium term that could really be disruptive. Is that you could train AIs and machine learning to replicate a lot of this network behavior and act as a FOCO and get things started, to manipulate mass human behavior. I don't think it's omnipotent, but I think the long-term game here, and I think China recognizes this, is that we're building a social artifact. Okay, that encompasses the economy. Whether it looks like it's going to be crypto. The big central banks are launching their own crypto. We have external crypto. We have where contracts are written in software and they're living there, and that all becomes virtualized, an artifact, and connected. And then we have society through social networking that is increasingly an artifact connected. And we go into VR and AR and all these other things, and your perceptions become an artifact, and all of these things connect together. And then you start incorporating AIs and other technology to manage it and to mitigate it and control it. And a lot of the internal struggle we see in the US and the West is over who gets to control that. Europe's like saying, that's not going to happen. Let's deny it. Let's destroy this data and hide. Ostrich strategy doesn't usually work. And that here in the US is who gets to set the rules and conditions for how this artifact gets built. What are the protections? What are the limits? What is it aiming for? What is it going to do for us? What is it going to promote? And we're arguing over this, even though we don't really know what we're arguing over. We're writing all of this society into software, into this collected artifact that's going to control all these things, including from perceptions all the way down. And you'll have people who are disconnected and trying to, stay disconnected, but how do you make your money when everything goes through it, AR, VR, through online, get the job or get a date or anything, and can't really ignore it. So if that's the long-term kind of thing, McLuhan said, that's the way we're going to get control over this thing. But if it's built incorrectly, it becomes this long night, lockdown, terrible monstrosity where all of these restrictions are built right into the infrastructure. It's not even any central control. It's built into the infrastructure of how this thing works. And try to change that is going to be impossible, especially, if the environment adapts and we require something new to survive in this world, and this thing won't let us adapt, won't let us come up with the ideas or even talk about the ideas that would allow us to successfully adapt to the circumstance. That's like end of humanity time. You can't get rid of this thing. So, it's like people have a mistake. I mean, I'm going to talk a little about technology thing, and people who don't like this discussion could probably tune out on it. But it's like, AIs aren't like this human equivalent intelligence thing that everyone's talking about, like something you're going to talk to. The AIs that matter are the ones that live between us, that manage this social artifact, live in between our economic connections and live in between our personal connections. And they feed off that data. They're symbiotes. And they're right now the most complex AIs ever built. Facebook has them, Twitter has them, everyone's building them. Amazon's building them. And they're getting all the money and the love and the attention. And where the money goes is typically what ends up winning the big race. And those things are not going to be like human equivalent types. They're going to be thinking entirely different things. And they're going to manage how we interact together. So figuring out how that works in real time while they're actually doing it to us is extraordinarily dangerous. And trying to get people to see it is really, really tough. Say, hey, wake up. Our future is being written right now. I mean, actually being written as code.